What's going on, guys? Today, an explosive, absolutely explosive day in trial. On top of Orange Man testifying, a woman named Robbie Myers. She's the former Elle editor-in-chief, and she testified for Miss Carroll's team. Also, another lady testified named Carroll Martin. Miss Carroll Martin testified for the former president's team right before Orange Man took the stand. And funny enough, her text messages were actually talked about during Miss Jean Carroll's own testimony, because apparently she had texted Miss Carroll Martin on the day of the New York Magazine article with all the accusations. So a lot of explosive stuff was said. Judge Kaplan also said some explosive stuff. I thought a little too vulgar, maybe even kind of disrespectful to a victim of assault. And actually, he said something similar the very first day, which I deleted just so YouTube wouldn't pick it up. So I will put the vulgar stuff that Judge Kaplan said, obviously censored. Nonetheless, don't get offended because I didn't say this stuff. Also, if Orange Man gives you high blood pressure, well, maybe don't watch this. So very important to keep all of this in mind. Caution. Now, it's pretty obvious that a lot of people hate, just abhor, detest the Orange Man himself. My brother-in-law is a perfect example. He literally foams at the mouth with just so much passion and so much hatred just at the sight or hearing the name of Orange Man. This condition is very, very dangerous for anyone. So first witness called by Miss Jean Carroll's team. Now, it's very important to remember the restrictions that Judge Kaplan placed on the case itself, specifically on what former president's team can say or not say. There's actually quite a bit. You can find those restrictions in part 1 of the series because it'll put certain things into context. For example, this case is about damages. It's not about defending whether or not he was found liable. Alrighty, so Ms. Jean Carroll's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, attorney Roberta Kaplan, questioning Miss Myers, the former Elle magazine editor. Asked if she testified before, she answered yes, that she testified in the first trial, Miss Carroll versus Orange Man. Asked if she went on TV, she said yes, MSNBC. Asked who she voted for in 2016 and 2020. She said Democrats. Asked if Elle magazine itself endorsed any political candidates. She said no, that it wasn't their role, but they did write profiles. Asked if she was friends with Miss E. Jean Carroll. She said yes. Now, attorney Alina Habba comes in. She does a very quick cross-exam, asking Miss Myers if she plans on voting for Donald Trump in 2024. She replies, I don't have to say what I plan on doing. Ms. Habba says, fair enough. Asked if she was terminated by Elle magazine. She said no. She said that her contract was not renewed. Asked if she knows if she was fired. Objection. Sustained. Moving on. Asked if she was working at Elle magazine when Miss Carroll departed. She said no. Miss Alina Habba, so you have no knowledge, no direct knowledge of events from 2017 to 2019. Miss Myers said no. Nothing more than what she has heard and read. Nothing more than gossip. Miss Habba, what was the gossip? Objection. Sustained. Asked what kind of writer was Miss Jean Carroll. She said a journalist, journalistic. Asked what she means by that. She replied, accurate. Attorney Habba, so Miss Carroll gave relationship advice. Is that correct? Miss Myers, she wrote about the culture. Asked about how Miss Carroll would respond to questions. Miss Roberta Myers actually said that Miss Carroll would call a psychiatrist or even a medical doctor, an expert. Attorney Habba says, so that's like being a fact-checking journalist. Objection. Sustained. That was it. That was it for the former Elle magazine editor. No more witnesses for the plaintiff, for Miss Jean Carroll's team. Next, Miss Jean Carroll's lawyers played some videos, including parts of his deposition. One video, the former Presidente is recorded as saying, this is a rigged deal. I had no idea who she was, nor could I care less. The next one is during a deposition from last year, where he says that his most valuable asset is the brand, that he became president because of the brand, where he thinks it's one of the hottest brands in the world, including that he did NFTs and they sold out, that they sold out immediately, including some going for $20,000 and up to $82,000. He heard numbers like that somebody hit the jackpot with these NFTs. Another part of the video, he talks about his brand being similar to Coke, Coca-Cola, that the brand itself could be worth more than all the buildings. Also in the video, a New York prosecutor is asking him what the price of Mar-a-Lago is. He responds, $1.5 billion. In the video, he's also asked when he moved into Trump Tower. He responds, a year after it was built. Asked when he was married to his first wife, Ivanka. He responds from 78 to the early 90s. He's asked, when you were president, did you ever speak directly to reporters? He responds, yes, too many to name. Asked if he ever read the cut excerpt. He says, no. Asked in the video if he's ever read What Do We Need Men For?, the book by Miss Jean Carroll. He says, never heard of it. Asked in the video if he ever said the following, there's zero evidence, it's fake news. No sales attendant around. All should condemn false accusations. If you have info that Miss Carroll is working for the Democrats, let us know. Did you say all of this? He says, yes, and I stand by it. Asked in the video if he said, she's not my type. He responded, yes. Asked in the video if he said that he never met her. He responded, yes, saying that later on he was shown a picture from a receiving line at a charity, that he shakes a lot of hands, that he meets a lot of people. Asked in the video, who is in this photograph? He responds, it's Marla. The prosecutor in the video says, you're saying that's Marla, but it's actually Miss E. Jean Carroll. Former president says, that's John Johnson. It's very blurry. Same prosecutor in the video asking, what do you mean she's not my type? Do you mean physically? He responds, yes. And now that I know more, not my type in any way. Asked if the 3 women he married are his type. He responded, yes. Asked what is Truth Social. He responded that it's an alternative to Twitter that he started. Asked if he issued statements on Truth Social. He said yes, including that she's sick, that she made things up, that I'll be suing her once this case is over, and I'll be suing you also. Prosecutor in the video asking, did you write all of this yourself? He responded, yes. Asked if he wrote, I have no idea who she is. He responded, yes. I think she's a whack job. Prosecutor in the video asking, you used the word hoax over 250 times in 2020. Is that correct? He responded, probably. There are a lot of hoaxes played on me. Russia, Mueller, lying to FISA court, hoax, hoax, hoax. Hoaxes by the scum we have in this country. She's a liar and she's sick. Asked about mailing in votes, if he called those a hoax. He said yes. They asked him though, but you vote by mail. He said yes. Okay, so that was the end of the videos. Also, that was the end of the plaintiff's case. That was it. Okay, so now it's the defense's turn. Ms. Habba gets into a bit of a scuffle with Judge Kaplan and Ms. Carroll's lawyer because attorney Habba says that they opened the opportunity for her to ask the former president what he meant during the depositions because they showed the videos. Judge Kaplan says we'll see when we hear from the plaintiff. Ms. Carroll's lawyers are against this because they say that Judge Kaplan has already ruled on this, saying that Your Honor has ruled Mr. Trump cannot contradict the prior jury's findings, those restrictions in part 1 of the series. So we'll see what happens next. Attorney Alina Habba calls the witness Miss Carroll Martin. First question, how long have you known Miss Carroll? She responds, 30 years. Asked if she has counsel, she says yes. Miss Alina Habba says, did we try to interview you? She says, you tried. You did. Attorney Alina Habba says, I'd like to declare her a hostile witness. So, as you may have guessed, a hostile witness is a witness who identifies with the opposing party. In this case, she's friends with Miss Carroll. Therefore, she's a hostile witness against the former president's legal team, even though they're the ones who called her. Ms. Habba asking if she met with Ms. Carroll's counsel in the last month. She responded yes, twice. Ms. Habba asking if she spoke with the defense's team also, the defense's counsel. She responded no. Asked if she's here testifying because she's under a subpoena. She said yes. Asked if she went to Miss Roberta Kaplan's law firm, Miss Carroll's lawyer. She responded yes. Asked if she uses Twitter or social media. She responded no. She prefers a private life. Asked if she reviewed Miss Carroll's book. She responded a portion. Asked if she reviewed The Cut, the New York Magazine article. She said yes. Asked if she read the whole book, she said yes. Eventually, she ended up reading the whole thing. Asked if she was concerned for her safety. She said yes, at times. And for her daughter. Asked if she told this to Miss Carroll. She said yes. Ms. Habba asking if she put anything in an email regarding her safety. She responded yes. Okay, now Attorney Habba says Miss Carroll told you she has zero security concerns. Miss Martin replies she did, but she's not sure if she used the word zero. Next, a series of text is presented as evidence. Miss Alina Habba is asking if Miss Carroll invited her to social events regarding her case. Miss Martin replied yes, saying that after a New York Times podcast, there was interest, but that it wasn't just about Miss Jean Carroll. There was also the Harvey Weinstein issue. Miss Habba, do you think Miss Carroll was enjoying the attention? Miss Martin says, at points. Asked Miss Martin, what does narcissism mean to you? She replies, seeing things through yourself. Miss Habba says, you know you're under oath. You said Miss Carroll's narcissism has run amok. Miss Martin replies, I texted that to a friend. Miss Habba says, I understand that it's hard to say this about a friend. Judge Kaplan chimes in saying, no speeches, Miss Habba. Okay, Miss Habba continues, Miss Martin, you've said that Miss Carroll is a drug addict and the drug is herself. Is that correct? Miss Martin, I don't remember. Now remember that they're showing a series of messages, text messages, all on display for the jurors. Asked if she sees this document with her messages. She said, it was written to my daughter. Miss Habba, do you understand that Miss Carroll was actually hoping to lose so that she could go to the Supreme Court, so that she, Miss Carroll, could sell more books? Asked, do you believe that publicity has become part of her lifestyle? She responds, it's an extension of the lifestyle she already had. Pretty smooth response. Miss Habba, yes or no? Miss Martin says, I'm hard-pressed to say. Asked if Miss Carroll celebrated the case. She said it was organized by journalists. Asked what journalist and who did they write for? She said, maybe New York Times, I don't know. Asked if any from Fox News. She said, no, not that I know of. Miss Habba asking how many parties that she knew of concerning the lawsuits against former President Trump. Miss Carroll Martin said 6 that she herself went to. Now that is very, very interesting. Asked which ones with journalists. She said, I don't know. Asked if these journalists at the parties wrote articles against former President Trump. Objection. Sustained. Miss Habba, were you frustrated by these parties concerning the lawsuit? Miss Martin said, somewhat, yes, because her and Miss Carroll are quite different. Miss Habba asking about a dinner, asking if there were lawyers there. She responded, yes, Miss Roberta Kaplan was there, Miss Carroll's lawyer. Miss Habba, you stated that Miss Carroll was acting a little scary, didn't you? Miss Martin says, bad choice of words. Miss Alina Habba, is that a yes or a no? Miss Martin said yes. She did say that. Asked if she said that Miss Carroll was loving the adulation. Miss Martin said yes. Asked, do you believe Miss Carroll is enjoying the fame? Miss Carroll said, I think she's adapting. Enjoying is a multifaceted word. No further questions. Okay, now Miss Carroll's lawyer going to cross-examine Miss Martin. First question, ouch. Did you know that Miss Carroll has been harmed because you're friends? Asked if she was named in the book, she said it was dedicated to her and Miss Birnbach. That in the book, she was identified as a news reporter. So that's how close of friends they were. Asked if she was concerned about her safety, she said yes, once she spoke with the New York Times podcast. Asked if she was concerned because she was involved in Miss Carroll's lawsuit against former president. Objection, overruled. Miss Martin said that the U.S. climate felt dangerous to her. Asked what she meant during questioning regarding Miss Carroll's lifestyle. She responded that the whole lawsuit had become a large part of her life, of Miss Carroll's life. Asked if she was concerned that the lawsuit wouldn't work out for Miss Carroll. Objection, overruled. Asked if she discussed the passage of the New York law allowing Miss Carroll to sue former president for sexual assault. Objection, overruled again. Asked if she did not want Miss Carroll to file a second lawsuit. Objection. Overruled. Asked why she was concerned. Miss Martin said she was concerned because of the climate and the defamations would just continue and escalate. Asked what she meant when she used the words drug addict to describe Miss Carroll. Miss Martin said, I have no idea. I use words loosely sometimes. Miss Carroll's lawyer, since Miss Carroll had been a journalist her whole life, is it not surprising that there were journalists at her parties? Miss Martin agreed. She said that's correct. Asked if she thought Miss Carroll was a narcissist. She responded, I have no idea. Asked if she has distrust for Miss Carroll's motives. She said no. Asked what her job was when she met her. She said a columnist that in '94 they also did a TV show together. Asked if she thinks Miss Carroll wants to be known as the woman who lied about the president sexually assaulting her. Objection. Overruled. She said no. And that was it for Miss Carroll Martin. Pretty interesting testimony from her. Alrighty, so next up, former president is called to the witness stand. Judge Kaplan has a lot to say before the testimony. Warning though, he does get a little vulgar at times, so if you're sensitive about that stuff, just a heads up, I will censor it of course, but just letting you know, it's his words. Okay, so Judge Kaplan says he has a few words to say before the testimony, where he says there was a trial last year about the truth or false nature of Miss Carroll's claims that Mr. Trump was listed as a witness but did not testify, where the jury found for Miss Carroll. That now here there are no do-overs, where this is called issue preclusion or collateral estoppel. And the jury found that Mr. Trump inserted his finger into. Also, that the jury found that Miss Carroll did not make up her claim. On top of that, they found the former president's June 11th and June the 22nd statements were defamatory, where here and now Mr. Trump may not make any arguments against this. Judge Kaplan says that Miss Carroll has adhered to the court's rulings, and that Miss Carroll's attorney, Miss Kaplan, on behalf of Miss Carroll, has questioned if the former president could offer any admissible testimony. Interesting. Judge Kaplan to Miss Habba, you said that he could testify about the reporter's questions and if he was acting with ill will, with intent, where Kaplan says that a judge must exclude inadmissible evidence. He says that there are concerns here as expressed by Miss Carroll's lawyers. Clearly, they don't want Orange Man to testify. And Kaplan goes on to say that he wants to confirm a few things with Miss Habba. He wants to know what he's going to testify to. Where Miss Habba says she only has a few questions, where he responded to the accusations and denied them. Judge Kaplan is asking, is this 100% certain? Miss Habba says, I'm not testifying for my client. Now, Judge Kaplan turns to Miss Carroll's attorneys, asking what their point of view is, where Miss Carroll's lawyer says, Miss Kaplan, the attorney, that she just heard Mr. Trump say under his breath that he's going to say he never did it. Judge Kaplan to Miss Habba, so he will not testify about questions asked of him by reporters. Miss Habba says, no. If I may, Your Honor. Judge Kaplan says, no. What are your questions? Miss Habba says, again, that he stands by his deposition, that she's going to ask about his state of mind, about him defending himself. Judge Kaplan, is that it? Miss Habba, yes. And that he never intended to hurt Miss Carroll. Miss Carroll's lawyer jumps in, saying he already had an opportunity to participate in a trial. Judge Kaplan, and he lost. I will so instruct the jury more than once. Where the former president chimes in, saying, I was not at the trial. I have never met this woman. Judge Kaplan, Mr. Trump, keep your voice down. Judge Kaplan asking Miss Habba, will your client abide? She responds, I don't have a glass ball. Okay, so Alina Habba wants to confirm what she can ask. She says, so only one question. She said, what about why did you make the statements? Judge Kaplan said no. Where she responds, I have a right to ask about intent. Judge Kaplan says, I will decide what he has a right to. That's my job, not yours. He says, I will not allow open-ended questions. If you ask them, there is likely to be an objection, and I will sustain. Okay, so Habba says, as long as we have the deposition in, I think I'll be fine. Judge Kaplan says, well, I hope you will be. Alrighty, so Miss Alina Habba calls the former president, stating his name as Donald John Trump. Ms. Habba, you viewed your deposition, is that correct? He responds, yes, and I stand by it 100%, that she said something I considered a false accusation. Objection sustained. Miss Alina Habba, no further questions. What? Cross-examination by Miss Roberta Kaplan, asking, there was a trial here previously, correct? He responds, yes. Asking, is this the first trial between you and Miss Carroll that you have attended? He responded, yes. Attorney Kaplan, no further questions. Miss Alina Habba back up, asking, did you have counsel at the previous trial? And did you follow their advice? He responded, yes. Objection sustained. Ms. Habba, no further questions. So I guess the whole thing at the end there is that they're trying to imply, they're trying to insinuate that his legal counsel for his first trial possibly advised him that he didn't need to show up for the first trial. So was it because he himself didn't want to show up? Or was it because the Joe Tacopina, the previous counsel he had, was it because that was his idea? Maybe he got overconfident that he could toss the whole case out. Clearly that didn't work out. So who's to blame? Who knows? But just a few questions, all because of the heavy restrictions put in place. Because as Kaplan said, he didn't want to relitigate the first trial. His counsel the first time should have taken it more seriously. Before they left, Judge Kaplan spoke with the lawyers about instructions for the jurors, because the former president's attorneys wanted to limit instructions for the jurors. But Judge Kaplan said that his counsel had previously made arguments concerning a New York law, the change that was made to the New York law. And because of that, the former president could have been found to have committed assault just by touching her breast, where Trump's lawyer said that was previous counsel. But Judge Kaplan chimes in saying that it was found in the previous case that there was digital penetration. Under penal law, digital penetration just means penetration by using the hands. Former president's lawyer, Madeo, he argues that there's no need for the jury to hear any of this. And they object to all of this. Judge Kaplan said, overruled. So in Judge Kaplan's view, they're entitled to hear all of this. On top of that, he said they're entitled to award punitive damages to deter the defendant from continuing to defame her, or anyone else for that matter. So in the end, who won today? I don't know. It seemed like a draw. But at this point, it's pretty obvious that Orange Man should have gone to the first trial, because now they want to argue all the stuff that was already argued in the first case. And that Judge Kaplan has not allowed for this case. They should have gone to the first case. So if he was following the advice of previous counsel, well, previous counsel was pretty bad. Anyways, that's it for this one, guys. I will have the closing arguments and maybe even a verdict. That would be wild. All right, guys. Well, thanks for spending time with me. Please don't forget to smash the like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.